Good afternoon, people. It's very good to be here. Today is the 9th of November 2023. We are a few days shy of the runoff election that we have been waiting for, which is happening on November the 14th, next Tuesday. Very glad to be here. I want to welcome you all. This is going to be the final podcast we do to the runoff election. It's good to have you all here. I have seen lots and lots of posts on Facebook and podcasts anticipating this podcast. So much anticipation. We've got some very, very sensitive materials that we have kept. We've sat on for 10 solid years. And but as you know, as tradition dictates, we do not begin to speak to you until we have hit a certain number, and that number is usually 2,000 people. So we have almost 700 people, and so we'll wait until we hit that number. While we wait, I just want to speak to you to a number of things. We will be also looking at some other issues here today. I want to call on all Liberians as we prepare to go to the runoff on November 14th, next Tuesday, to make a very critical decision as to whether we renew President Weah's mandate or replace him with someone else, with Joe Boakai. What is even more important is how we do it peacefully. Let's continue to be peaceful, because peace is very important to us as a country and as a people. All right, share the views. Share the podcast. We've hit 1,000 people already, 1,100 people. And how are you all doing? I'm having a very lovely Friday. It's beautiful. And what am I going to be having for lunch today? Palm butter. Oh, I love me some palm butter. I love the palm butter with case meat in it, and the palm butter leaves. You know the palm butter leaves? It gives it that flavor. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Some authentic Liberian palm butter. 1,200 people. Samuel Jackson, I see you watching. Since you came back, you haven't come to see me. Come find me so we can talk. Yeah, we've got much to catch up on. Good afternoon to all my the Weahians and the Seditians, and good afternoon to the UP people as well, and to the Cummins people, to everybody. 1,400 people. We're going up. Pretty soon we'll be at 2,000 people. Today is the 10th? Somebody said the 10th? Okay, the 10th. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. It happens. All right, folks. So on election day, on the evening of election day, we will be hosting an election night special. We have done this in the past. We've done it for when we were in the opposition, when we supported the opposition, when we were in the opposition. We will be doing it on, it will start at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. on November 14th. By this time, the polls will have closed. The counting will be on, and and this is when we will begin at 7 p.m. We are organizing to have it aired simultaneously on 100 radio stations across the country. We're talking radio stations in Monrovia as well as radio stations across the 15 political subdivisions of the country. We're going to be doing, receiving the results as the tally sheets as they've been posted, and we will, before we close, which we expect to do sometime around midnight, we will do a projection based on data trends, and we are expected to project a winner of the election, which we believe is going to be George Weah. This panel, this Election Night Special, will not be your typical podcast, which is what I'm doing here. It will feature a distinguished panel of discussants, political commentators, to look at the results, analyze them, and be able to draw a conclusion, which would then inform our projection as to who will have won the runoff vote. So yes, we've struck 2,000, going on 2,100 people. Now we can officially begin. I want to say this to you before I go into what I had promised you I will be releasing here today. The information I have in this envelope are pieces of evidence, letters, official letters that I have had for 10 years, and messages as well. Not WhatsApp messages, regular texts that I had in my archives for 10 years. And I want to show you, because so you know what we have. Lots of them. I think 20 pages of exchanges. Yeah, in my possession. Okay. Now, fellow Liberians, one day in 2013, I received a call . I had just been on the Costa show for 2 years. And I received a call from a gentleman who wanted to share with me what would come across to me as a very unfortunate experience, horrible experience that they had had with former Vice President Joseph Boakai. And they wanted me to expose this to the public, to the Liberian people. This was 2013, September, and I have all the records to show. And I drove to their house and met with them. And they showed me the evidence, which I put away in my archives. And rather than releasing the evidence, I told them I would reach out to to then Vice President Joseph Boakai and try to mediate, because it was damaging, very damaging, very embarrassing. And so what happened was, I did not release the evidence. I reached out to his chief of staff, Steve Kwa, Joe Boakai's chief of staff. And we organized a meeting There was a restaurant that used to be a Chinese restaurant that used to be on 10th Street, Sinkhall. It was right there. That's where we met. And I showed him the evidence I had and what the family wanted me to do with it, to expose it. But I told him that I had encouraged and implored the family to allow me try to broker some sort of arrangement where this very damaging thing would not be exposed, so as to seriously embarrass then Vice President Joseph Boakai. So, and the family agreed for me to go ahead and do this. So I told Mr. Sam Stevekwa, and he said, Henry, thank you for coming to us with this. And whatever we can do, we'll do it to try to avoid this coming out. They did do it. I got the former vice president to do exactly what the family wanted. Yeah. And I have evidence to show that he did it. And there is a video I have also in which he said on a local talk show, he admitted that he did cause or have this thing done for these people. I have the video here. They had their containers in the port worth millions of dollars. They had racked up storage and wanted him to intervene. And he didn't want to intervene, but something made him intervene when I got involved. It is that thing, the gory details of that thing, that he did not want to let out, and the manner in which he went about it. So we have all the evidence, everything, the letters that were written, the messages that were exchanged. I have all the evidence. I've kept them for 10 years. When I announced that I was going to be releasing this damaging bombshell on Joe Boakai from 10 years ago, it was because I had received an explicit authorization and permission from the aggrieved party. Not only did I get the former vice president to have the equipment released from the port, I got him to pay them a little sum of money for their pain and suffering. I made him do that. They didn't request for it. 15,000 US dollars. Handed to me. And then of course he requested for the cell phone. I handed the cell phone over to his chief of staff. And I'm sure he destroyed that cell phone, which contained very embarrassing and nasty evidence of his treasury. We wanted to explain this today, but yesterday, actually last night, we had some conversation. We had a conversation with some very important people. We're our new allies. Yes. And they felt that this is too damaging to put out there. And it's too sensitive. And we don't want to come across as being insensitive or trying to drag our Liberian mothers and sisters into something like this for what some would see as political gain. And so out of an abundance of consideration for decency and being considerate and showing sensitivity to something of this nature, we decided that we would not be releasing the details that we have here. Everybody knows how damaging. They all saw it. But they felt that we should not release it. The details of it. So, I'm very sorry that you're disappointed that I'm not going to be releasing this very damaging evidence on someone who projects himself as a man of moral turpitude, as a very devoutly religious man who behaved in such a reckless and immoral manner. It is not because of him we made this consideration or this reconsideration to release this evidence. It is because it is out of respect and out of consideration for Liberian wives and mothers and sisters. And that is why we decided we would not be putting this out today. So, I have it all here. But I'm sorry, we're not going to be releasing it in the detail. But we did get Joe Boakai to do exactly what we wanted Joe Boakai to do 10 years ago. Because of this. Because of this, Joseph Boakai influenced then Agriculture Minister Florence Chinoway, peace to our ashes, to have this done. I'm going to read it for you. At least this is the one piece I will show you. I will not go into the details of the material, but I will tell you what we made Joe Boakai do. This is a letter written by the late Florence Chinoway. October 14, 2023. 2013. I'm going to show the date. Let me just show it so you all can see it. You see it? October 14, 2023. Councillor Jeffrey George, Acting Managing Director, National Port Authority. And the letter signed by Florence Chinoway. All right. You see it, folks? All right. There you go. So, it was because of my negotiation, my involvement, because Boakai was caught in a very terrible act, we made him use his position to get Florence Chinoway to get those containers released from the port. I'm going to read a letter. Councillor Jeffrey George, Acting Managing Director, National Port Authority, Freeport of Monrovia. Dear Acting Managing Director, I acknowledge with thanks receipt of your letter dated October 5, 2013 with reference to MD-1/609/2013 in which reference is made to a letter addressed to Mr. Brian Fogel, Managing Director, APM Terminals, concerning the ADA/LAP containers and your request that the Ministry of Agriculture begin the process of clearing said containers. I have noted that all appropriate documents, which include the bill of lading, the bill of lading, and any duty-free documents, if applicable, are to be provided, and that the containers have generated storage cost amounting to $620,000 United States dollars. In response to the above, Ministry of Agriculture is requesting of the National Port Authority to turn over the containers to Ambassador Wendell McIntosh, who will present all appropriate documents, including bill of lading, and any duty-free documents, if applicable, to begin clearing the ADA lab containers. Kindest regards, Florence Chinoway, Minister. Because of the gravity of what this deacon in the Baptist church, this devoutly religious man, this man who claims and projects to be of high moral standing, using his official position of power to do what he did, we got him to get those containers released. So, as I've shown you, we have the evidence, but we've decided to spare you the details because they are nasty. They are nasty. Yeah, they are nasty. And if it were up to me, I would have released them, but we're a team and we work together as a team. So, just so you know, Joseph Boakai is now who he projects himself to be. He's a horrible old man who, when in power, used his position of power to do a lot of horrible things. And this is one case that I brokered this deal and I got him to do what he did in order to save himself. Thank you very much. All right. So I want to say, as we go to the election on Tuesday next week, vote for George Weah. Vote for George Weah not because he's a saint. Vote for George Weah not because you're satisfied with everything he's done. But vote for George Weah because George Weah is far better than the team that Joe Boakai has put together. George Weah has done many good things that because we were opposition, it was our job and we did it quite effectively to downplay. Take for example, the recent MCC success, passing on our MCC scorecard for 2024, 14 out of 20 indicators. This is the highest by far that Liberia has ever received on the MCC scorecard. 14 out of 20. We had never done that before. This is the first time. This means having passed on our MCC scorecard in 2 successive years, this means that Liberia can now advance an application for an MCC compact grant of potentially up to $500 million. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and her folks, Amara Kone and the likes, never scored this high a point. But it happened. And as I see my former friends in the Unity Party, I see them trying to downplay this and trying to make it look like it's not important. It is extremely important. They never scored 14 indicators out of 20 indicators. They never did. Not even my friend Amara Kone, who was Minister of Finance, he never came this close. 14 out of 20. And so I say to you folks, go out there on election day and vote for George Weah. I'm supporting George Weah not because I believe that George Weah has suddenly become a saint overnight, but because of what I know about Joe Boakai, his health, the terrible people he's working with, Jeremiah Cohn, who we don't really know this guy. He has no history of fighting for the Liberian people. All he's ever done was to loot in the legislature to empower himself. He has no exposure outside. He has no friends outside. He doesn't know his way around. And so it's a dangerous thing that Joseph Boakai paired himself up with this blind, incompetent nitwit of a senator. And the dangerous warlord godfather Prince Johnson, whom the Americans want for the murder of 5 American nuns. Are these the people you want to entrust the country to? Absolutely not. To the people in the middle, those of you who supported Alice Cummings, Teon Gonglo, and many other presidential candidates, you didn't vote for Weah, neither did you vote for Boakai. If you want your candidate of preference, your presidential candidate, your political leader of choice to have an opportunity, to have a shot at running again in the presidency or for the presidency, the opportunity is yours in 2029. If Weah is president, Weah is going to be out in 2029, well, 2030. But if you vote for these Unity Party people, who we saw what they did here when they were in power, they like to tell you that they are all good and they know it all. But we were here. We saw what they did. They like to remind me of the things I suffered under Weah. I suffered more under Unity Party than I suffered under George Weah. That is a fact. They like to say I'm unemployed, I'm jobless. At a radio station with 25 employees, Unity Party shut it down. Joseph Boakai and his government. We had other businesses. They made our life miserable in this country. They know better than CDC. They know nothing better than CDC. This arrogant entitlement mindset, reject it Joseph Boakai is a relic. He belongs in a museum. On November 14, vote for George Weah, and let's retire and let's put Unity Party in the political dustbin. Thank you so much.